Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so incredibly excited to have a conversation with musician John Ondrasik, also known as Five for Fighting. Thank you so much for being on my show. I am so excited to be talking with you right now.
Well, thank you, Maya. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. So let's get started. I love all of your music. Where do you find inspiration for your songs?
It depends. Sometimes certain things happen to you, which you write about. Sometimes you observe things in others around you. Sometimes you're just walking down the street and you hear somebody say something and you're like, oh, that's a great song title.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes world events or personal events, inspire you. So I always believe there's a great song in every room if I can just hear it. So I'm always looking on the out, I'm always on the front foot looking for song ideas.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So do you have a specific songwriting process or any rituals you do before writing a song?
I think a lot of it is just the work ethic of doing it, like anything. When you don't want to do it or you're tired, to just keep writing and write hundreds of songs. I wrote, thousands of songs before Superman. And so much of this is just kind of growing your craft. I tend to use many different tools. Sometimes I start with a melody. I sit at the piano and come up with a melody. Sometimes I write a lyric and I try to put music to that lyric. Sometimes I have a concept I want to write about. 100 years, live in the moment, appreciate the moment. I'm somebody who is not very good at that. So some of these songs are also little post-it notes to myself of like, hey, appreciate the moment, appreciate what's going on around you. So a lot of these songs too are kind of personal little kind of notes to myself about things maybe I can learn to do a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love writing lyrics. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think for all of us, just to write and express ourselves is really healthy, whether you're
Yeah.
writing a song or you're writing in your journal. My daughter has just journals, stacked up in her room of writing. And, you can write, a diary, you can write, your thoughts, you can write letters, you can write song lyrics, you can write poems. I think all that
Yeah.
stuff, whether you do this for a living or not, is, I think, very healthy for all of us. And certainly for me,
Yeah.
a lot of my songs are cathartic and ways for me to kind of get out some of my feelings. So I think that's important for all of us to do.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of, yeah, the same way that I get yeah, that songwriting is a way for me to get out all these emotions that I don't necessarily want to talk about.
Well, it's funny. A good friend of mine, Stephen Schwartz, who is an iconic Broadway writer, he wrote Wicked and Godspell and Pippin, and he said to me, when you put a song in a musical, it's something you can't say. It's something you can only sing. And I think, that's always stuck with me is that certain things that we have a hard time expressing, talking to each other or talking to somebody who's close to us, we can put in a poem or we can put in a song. And for some reason, it's easier to express in song. I think that's the beauty of music, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of a universal language, and you can express yourself in ways that you can't in any other medium. So yeah, I think for me, a lot of these things I write about, um, I certainly think the song has much more impact than if I just told you what I was thinking, right? Or
Yeah.
and the nice thing about music too is people will hear a song that and apply it to their lives in ways that you never could imagine that really wasn't about what you were writing about. But that's the beauty of music. People take what
Yeah.
they hear and apply it to their lives in ways that matter to them. So I always feel when I write a song and I put it out into the world, it ceases to be mine and people kind of take it and take it to heart in a way that that matters to them. So again, that's why I think music is so special.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yeah. So your songs are so meaningful. Is there one of your songs that is the most meaningful to you?
Well, it's hard, right? You know, your songs are kind of like your kids. You're like, you really
Yeah.
can't have a favorite one.
Yeah.
But certain songs certainly have an emotional connection for me. I wrote a song called I Just Love You, inspired by a conversation I had with my daughter, when she was 4 years old. So, to kind of have a song that you wrote with your daughter and now she's 23 singing the song with you on stage, that song, of course, has a very special meaning. Some of the songs I've written for our troops and our soldiers that are not songs on the radio, those also have a special meaning for me because I know that they've mattered to our soldiers. And 100 years, the nice thing about 100 years is that we're all in there somewhere. And I wrote the song, I was in my early 30s, and now I'll be turning 60 next year. So I find with that song, I can always relate to it because I'm always somewhere in that song. So
Yeah.
and maybe that's why other folks relate to it as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Is there a song that you are currently obsessed with?
Oh, you mean somebody else's song?
Yeah.
You know, my wife actually just sent me a song by Jelly Roll, actually, about his battle with addiction, and I thought that was a wonderful song. Not, I don't really listen to much new music. I tend to find it through, my kids, my band, my wife. But I thought that was not only a powerful, sentiment and expression, brave expression, but also just a beautifully crafted song and melody.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I really like Jelly Roll. I love his song Lonely Road that he did with Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm such a huge fan of Machine Gun Kelly, so
that's awesome.
um yeah, is there an artist or a song that you consider to be the gold standard when it comes to songwriting and storytelling?
Boy, certainly there's a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
You can go back. I think a song like Cats in the Cradle is is almost a perfect song, just kind of about the sentiment and the journey from the beginning to the song to the end of the song, the
Yeah.
melody, the production, the vocal. There's so many. I'm a huge Beatle fan. To me, Long and Winding Road or Let It Be, or they're beautiful in their simplicity and but yeah, I mean, I could talk about Joni Mitchell. I could talk about Leonard Cohen. I could talk about The Who. I think Tommy is almost a perfect record. Um, so yeah, I have many influences and favorites, but I think Cats in the Cradle is one that I think I can point to as one of the gold standards.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I love that. Yeah. So what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
An interesting question. I think, certainly for me, it took me 15 years to have success, so I think perseverance was probably my most important asset. I started writing songs at 13, 14 years old, and I was recording and performing and doing, lots of sessions and met with many record company executives and it took me 12 years to get a record deal. And even when I got a record deal, my first album came out when EMI Records closed. So I actually had an album and the record company closed, but I still kind of kept swinging. I think so much in life
Yeah.
has nothing to do, well, has little to do with talent. It really has to do with work ethic and relationships and perseverance. So I would say kind of just fighting through those times where, I was like so many, kind of getting the door slammed in my face by the business. That's probably the thing I overcame for fate or fortune, one way or the other.
Yeah. Oh, so what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Well, as Five for Fighting is about hockey, I could say Slapshot, but but my first of all, I'm not a very good hockey player, and I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, could I say E.T. because it's a dream come true,
Yeah.
to be able to make a living. My story in many ways is a fairy tale, and that,
Yeah.
I kind of lived my childhood passion, and certainly there's challenges along the way, and ups and downs and roller coasters and struggles like we all have. But in many ways, I'm kind of living the dream. So, whether it's, ET or I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's, this
Yeah.
it's certainly not The Star is Born because it didn't come
Yeah.
that way, but yeah. The Godfather is my favorite movie, but that definitely does not apply
Yeah.
to my life.
Cool. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I don't know if I should admit this, but I haven't actually seen The Godfather.
But what movie do you apply to your life? It's a good example for your life.
Oh, I don't know. I would want it. I hope it would. I think it would be probably a dark comedy. Um, I think I want it to somehow be a rom-com because those are some of my favorite movies, but I like dark comedies too. So,
That's amazing. Yeah, oh, yeah. My daughter's the same way. You and my daughter would get along very well.
it seems like it. Um, so I am pop culture obsessed and I go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Well, I think The Penguin is very good.
Yeah.
They're only into 3 or 4 episodes, so some of the acting is incredible. My wife and I love this show called Vikings. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, but it's about the Vikings, and it's we love it. It can be a little gory, but it's fantastic and shot incredibly, and the acting's amazing. So fans of, Game of Thrones or that kind of genre, I think it's a hidden gem. So we're kind of on the last season of Vikings, and we enjoy that show Shrinking too with Harrison
Oh,
Ford, and I know they
yeah.
have a new season that's coming up. So we're looking forward to Shrinking as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love shrinking. I'm so
Yeah, it's
excited.
great.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. I'm so excited for the new season.
me too.
Um, yeah. Cool. Yeah, for or I love yeah, whenever I find a new show to binge watch, I was binge watching Grimm for like a few months. I watched all of that. Um and then I was looking for a new show, so I started afterwards because I was like, what am I gonna watch now? And so I decided on Scandal. So that's my current binge watch.
Awesome. I've never watched Scandal. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I always wanted to watch it. So I was like, okay, I need to try it because I love everybody in it. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. Yeah. So what was your favorite childhood book?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm a big sci-fi guy. My dad was an astrophysicist and worked for NASA. So I've always loved sci-fi. So you could go back to the classic, sci-fi iconic books like Dune and I, Robot, Foundation. But probably I'd have to say if I had to pick one, it would be Ender's Game. My dog's name is Ender, so
Oh,
I guess I'd have to say Ender's Game. I love Orson Scott Card as a writer, and that whole series is to me fantastic. So that's a song as a kid that's a book as a kid that certainly meant a lot to me.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So of all that you have accomplished so far, is there something you're the most proud of?
That's a nice question. I think kind of the honor of my career has been performing for our troops and our military families. I've certainly written songs about their experience. I've worked with many former veterans and active military Green Berets on different projects around the world. Um, and I work with Gary Sinise, who has an incredible foundation for our troops. We'll actually be doing a concert next month for our soldiers
Oh,
and first
wow.
responders. So for me, I think using my platform to support our soldiers and their families who fight for our freedom and being able to kind of be a voice for them sometimes for issues that matter to them, I think for me that's what I'm most grateful for.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's incredible. Yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on the person you have become?
It may be, somewhat of a cliche answer, but I think my parents, my dad is a very ethical, good man, works hard, very humble. My mom, again, a musician, a loving person, volunteers all the time. And, they've supported my kind of dream through my whole life and I hope raised me with certain values. There's, still very, my biggest fans and still can't believe this music thing's happening, and
Yeah.
and I work with my dad every day on the family business. So I think my parents, whatever good things I do, it goes back to them. And I certainly am not, the man my dad is, but I think I was born kind of in a wonderful place and they're still in, they're late 80s and they're still doing well. And they were here just the other night. And so I have to give whatever credit there is to my mom and my dad.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
Well, I don't know if there are small things, but certainly animals. I love our dog
Yeah.
Ender, and we have cats at work. We're big animal people. I'm a swimmer, so I love to swim. That's kind of my Zen place and kind of eases my mind and helps. And also, I'm a big sports fan, as you can tell. I don't know if you know, for many people, music there is their escape. For me, sports is my escape.
Yeah.
So I love sports and kind of watching my teams and kind of following teams and going into that world. So and also just, sitting down to read a book, just the simple pleasure of reading a book and kind of doing something for yourself. So those are a few things.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So how do you keep yourself motivated to create even on days when you aren't fully feeling it?
Very good question. Certainly when I was kind of really focused on my career and had deadlines and record companies and early in my career, I would write almost every day of the year. And as I said before, I think so much of success has little to do with talent. It's really about work ethic. And you struggle, you're at the piano, nothing's happening, but you just on days you don't want to work, you write. And so that it was really more of just a determination and a will to do the work. I'm not that way anymore because I don't have necessarily deadlines. I'm not making records. So I tend to now kind of write when I'm inspired or obligated or angered or frustrated and want to say something. So it's a different part of my career. I don't have to have a hit song. I don't have to write 100 songs to get 10 for a record. So I'm really in a kind of nice place where I can just kind of write and talk about things that matter to me. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, the last few songs I've put out have had an impact around the world in ways I never could have imagined and spoke for many people who feel they're not being heard. So it's a nice place to be as someone who's kind of had their run, with popular songs, but still has a voice, and I intend to use it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So what is something that people are always surprised to learn about you?
Well, that I spend my days making shopping carts with our family business. We uh, we have a family business that's been in the family since 1946, and I grew up working there. I worked all the way through my career, still work there. My dad still runs it. My son works there, and we make the best shopping cart in the world. And if you shop at Costco, you use our shopping cart. So I have these two parallel lives as a family member working in manufacturing in America in a small family business and a singer-songwriter. And
Yeah.
they often collide, which is fun, but it
Yeah.
also it's very healthy for me. It's keeps me grounded. It's the real world. Sometimes the
Yeah.
celebrity world can be a little shallow and kind of take you places maybe you don't want to go. So I'm grateful that I've had this kind of grounding influence in my life, and that every day you go, you see people working hard, you see the American dream, you have to meet a payroll, and you have to be an adult. So I
Yeah.
think I think that's been great, and I'll continue to do that for the rest of my days.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so cool. I love that. Yeah. Um, so do you have a go-to? Sorry, I'm trying to get the light off me. Um, do you, do you have a go-to comfort show or movie that you turn on when you just want to tune out the world?
That's a good question. As I mentioned, The Godfather is my favorite movie, and it's always, in Godfather 2, it's always on. We were on tour last week, and I was exhausted, and we did like 8 shows in 9 days, and I kind of fell into the bed at the hotel, and The Godfather was on, so of course I watched that. Um, but every once in a while I'll go back and watch all my favorite sci-fi movies and watch Star Trek. I'll turn on Star Trek, or whether it's the original or the Next Generation, or I'll put on early Star Wars, or 2001, or Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So I kind of go back to those, whenever I kind of want a little bit of nostalgia and a little bit of a brain break.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I love that. Yeah, I have like a long list of just different shows and movies that I rotate between.
Which is one of your favorites?
Um, for movies, one of my all-time favorites is the rom-com Home Again with Reese
Uh-huh.
Witherspoon. That's one of my all-time favorites. And then for shows, like there's Will and Grace,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's one of my all-time favorites. And then Friends and White Collar.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, like it's usually I mean White Collar has in the last few months, like that's pretty much been on all the time in like the background or whenever I just with everything going on in the world. I've had so much anxiety that White Collar just like gives me that escape that I need. So
We all need that these days, that's for sure.
yeah, definitely. Um, so I just have one more question for you. I love inspiring and motivational quotes, and this week my favorite quotation is by Joan Jett, and it says, "Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something. Make your own victories, make your own mistakes." Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
There is actually, and it's kind of a heavy one, but it's one that I've kind of been taken to heart the last few years. And it's a quote by Martin Luther King, where he says, "Silence in the face of evil is complicity." And we have a lot of bad things, as you know, going around the world, and a lot of people doing terrible things. And the tendency is to be afraid to talk about it, especially
Mm,
today in this day and age where you'll get criticized on social media, or maybe you even get canceled. And so that quote
mm,
about standing up and speaking out against people who are doing bad things is one that I do take to heart. And I think
yeah,
I've been doing that with some of the songs I've written and some of the speeches I've made. And I keep going back to the courage of Martin Luther King, saying, sometimes, the hardest things to do is to speak up for what you believe is right and take whatever comes from that. So,
yeah.
so I love your quote. I think
Mm,
Joan Jett's exactly right.
thank you.
Um,
Yeah. Mm,
Nobody can tell you not to do anything. Miracles can happen if you have fortitude, if you have heart, if you have the will to do anything. Anything is possible, and I truly believe that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I love your quote. Um, yeah. I think that's a great one as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah. Well, that was my final question for you. I can't tell you how much it means to me just to be talking with you right now. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I've been doing a lot of podcasts, and this is one of my favorite ones. I had so
Oh,
much fun. I love talking to you, and I
thank
love
you.
learning about you. And now I'm going to go watch some of your favorite shows.
Oh, thank you. And I'm adding The Godfather to my list of movies to watch.
You got to
So,
see it. You got to see it.
yeah, yeah,
It's the best.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think of one of the shows.
I will for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so again, thank you so much. I so appreciate your taking the time to join me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Same to you. Thank you. I look forward to next time.
Thank you. Me too. And that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.